Music Festivals 2021. I've talked about EDC Las Vegas, Electric Forest, Ultra, and for this video, I really want to talk about Coachella. The main reason why, in case you didn't know, is I've actually covered, for the past few years, all the biggest Coachella parties. Coachella Music Festival isn't just about the festival itself, but there's tons of parties that happen all around the festival, having A-listers in music, fashion, media, and so much more. I have a link list below to my entire playlist of all the biggest Coachella parties that I have covered. And obviously, last year in 2020, Coachella did not happen. And it was kind of an interesting story with Coachella because at first they said, hey, sorry, we're not gonna have Coachella, we're gonna have it later in the year. Then obviously, as we all know, things got worse. So Coachella said, you know what, we're actually not having it later in the year. We're now just gonna push it back to 2021. And at this point now, if I have to be honest, if I think Coachella is gonna happen or not, especially because it's happening this year in April, I don't think it's going to happen in April, but I think that if they do reschedule it till October or November, similar to what they tried to do last year in 2020, I think there actually is a strong possibility that by the fall, Coachella could happen. So my prediction for this year, I mean, we'll see what happens. Coachella's not said anything yet, but I think because it's supposed to happen April of this year, I just think it's too close. In case you didn't know, the vaccine rollout, which I feel like is the biggest determining factor if festivals can happen or not, it's not been going the best here in America. I did hear something that I guess Biden has some plans to speed up the vaccine process once he gets into office. Obviously, I have no idea. It's tough to say what's going to happen, but the biggest thing, I think, the biggest determining factor is the vaccines and how many people can be vaccinated. And who knows, maybe even if a lot of people get vaccinated and things are a lot safer, who knows if, you know, especially with music festivals, if they're going to be kind of the last event type structure, the last thing that the government says, okay, now these can happen. Because as you can imagine, especially with a massive festival like Coachella, you're talking about hundreds of thousands of people in the same area, and obviously all the parties that revolve around Coachella. I just think April is too early. I think that honestly, Coachella and Golden Voice, who kind of runs Coachella, I think they're probably already talking about like, look, basically have to reschedule this. It sucks, you know, especially for all the people who booked hotels and flights. I was talking to somebody in one of my comment sections about EDC, and they were like, hey, Mark, I watched your video about EDC. It's going to happen or not in Las Vegas. And I already booked all my stuff to prepare for EDC, not just the ticket, which Insomniac, who runs EDC, will probably refund, or they'll get some type of credit for the next year or whatever. They said, look, I've already booked my hotel and my flight and all this kind of stuff. And that's kind of a tricky thing with Coachella too, especially this year. It's supposed to happen in April, but I hate to say it, I think it's not going to happen until later on in 2021. I will say this, I am confident that Coachella is going to happen though. I really think it is going to happen in 2021, but it's got to happen in the fall. I think the reason why is if enough people get vaccinated, hopefully right before the summer. I feel like a lot of people are anticipating that summer 2021 is going to be the best summer ever. Everyone's been stuck inside. Everyone cannot wait to go out and whatnot. And hopefully enough people will be vaccinated and it will become like a step-by-step process where, you know, bars slowly open again, but maybe at like 25 or 50% capacity. Then nightclubs, which obviously is like a lot more of a tricky situation given the whole pandemic. And then hopefully music festivals will then kind of be in the same level or in the same kind of category as nightclubs. One big thing though, and I said this before in other videos, is that even if Coachella happens in 2021, and like I said, I am confident that it will, they're gonna have to reschedule it. It's gonna have to happen in the fall. I think one big thing, though, is it's definitely not going to be the Coachella that we all know, right? The last time I was at Coachella and all the parties was in 2019. Even though that was only a couple years ago, things are very different now, as we all know. And it could still be that even if Coachella happens, you have to be vaccinated in order to go to Coachella. They might have to require vaccination proof, in a sense, before you get into the festival. In addition, I think there's going to be a lot of restrictions, too. I mean, obviously, they're probably going to suggest wearing a mask. There's probably going to be a lot of socially distancing stuff set up. They might even say, hey, sorry, we're now only allowing 50% of the typical capacity of Coachella to enter in. They might even, you know, shrink the festival down to only 75% or 50%, or maybe even 25%. Honestly, I don't know, but they might even say, hey, sorry, typically we sell X amount of tickets. We now have to sell only half of that, and we can't allow anybody more. This is the unfortunate reality I think that we have to live in, and I feel like most people, we all thought, okay, you know what, 2020 is behind us. Everything that happened last year was ridiculous. In some cases, things are getting better. And I've had a bunch of friends who were on the first wave who are nurses and doctors who've already been vaccinated, which is amazing. But obviously, in case you haven't heard, and this is, again, an unfortunate reality, is things are also getting worse in terms of all the numbers. And all these kind of factors then play into music festivals happening or not. And one last thing I want to say for this video is that a lot of times I know when I've talked about music festivals, and I've even had conversations with people in the YouTube comments, that I think a lot of times people look at it almost kind of in a mocking way. Like, they're like, oh my God, a pandemic's going on right now. Why worried about music festivals? But what a lot of people don't know is that not just for the musicians, of course, but for the stage builders, for the construction people, for the lighting engineers, for a lot of the security guards, this is a huge source of their income. And this is why music festivals not happening hits a lot of people. I was talking to somebody on YouTube about EDC Las Vegas, and they said, look, if EDC doesn't happen, I'm gonna be in a very tight financial spot, because one of my biggest sources of income is doing EDC Las Vegas every single year. I've heard of a lot of people saying, look, 75% of my yearly income comes just from the 2 weekends that Coachella happens. And again, this is a very unfortunate domino effect of the fact that, things get shut down, music festivals get shut down. A lot of people think of, oh, now we can't party, but it's not just about the partying, it's about all the people who help set up the stages, about all the people who now, their incomes rely on that, and their families rely on them having that income to put food on the table. It's a very uncomfortable topic, but it's just a very, very unfortunate thing, just given everything that's going on. I'm really hoping that even though Coachella definitely is not going to happen in April, they haven't said anything yet, at least at the time of this video, but I'm going to be honest, there's just no way it's going to happen in April. I am very confident though, and I'm really hoping it does happen later on in the fall, and at least in a good way too. I'll say that at least Coachella is supposed to happen so early on this year that I think they can reschedule it far enough in advance, as opposed to, like, say, EDCs in May or Electric Forces in June. I think those are kind of on the cusp where it could easily go either way. With Coachella, at least because it's definitely not going to happen in April, I'm trying to look at it optimistically that they could say far enough in advance saying, hey, everyone, it's not going to happen in April. There's just no way. So what we're going to do is we're going to plan it in November, for example, or October of 2021. So we're planning it so far in the future that hopefully by that point, the vaccinations have been rolled out. A lot of people are a lot safer. We already have more precautions put into place. And even though we might have to deal with some inevitable restrictions, we're still able to have Coachella 2021.